Today's topic is be a smart, strong, local voice of reason. Okay. Um, I live in a city with a bunch of problems. I've lived here for 25 years and people are not well informed. People have a lot of wrong understandings about how local things work and the county things work, never mind how bad they think or have bad perceptions of the national space. But realize that even in quote unquote liberal California, we have complete right wing fucktards. Okay. And one of those fucktards um, wrote a letter to the editor to our local rag that I want to share with you today. It said, editor, well, let's start with the title here. Left hates Trump because his policies succeed. Okay, let's get into it. Let's get to his specifics, and then I'll talk about some more things about how we are not being successful right now. Editor, rather than address the silly arguments posed by several people in our town against President Trump and Republicans, I will simply pose the positive. Since Mr. Trump has the presidency again, here's his first point. Cutting the border crossings has saved us abundance of cash from having to pay for illegals, housing, food, clothing, healthcare, and security. Millions for the Biden administration were let through our borders. Okay, Trump is saving you money. Dear Leader Porn Star Humber's border policy is saving you money. Okay, that isn't even in the realm of reality, especially when you consider this ugly bullshit bankruptcy bill. Okay, the bill that pays ICE agents like they're senior programmers in a tech company. Okay, uh, they're paying bounties as bonuses. Okay, they're not deporting people. Okay, go look at my notes. Kristi Noem just announced another in a long series of gulags to be built and financed by federal taxpayers so they can house prisoners, not deport them. Who gets the contracts? All the friends of the campaign. How do you think this system works in corporatism, corporate socialism? Okay? The corporations and the CEOs, some of the worst people on fucking planet Earth, pick even a worse person to be president of the United States because they know the con is in. This guy is so transactional. He will literally fuck over the entire economy if they think they can get a government contract. Okay? And it's raining government contracts around the border. Okay? They're not small contracts. They're not $1 million contracts. They're billion, 10 billion, $20 billion contracts. Okay? If he's saving us money and we're saving all this money because we're not housing, providing food, clothing, healthcare, and security to these immigrants, by the way, half of them aren't even illegal. Okay? You're going to lie to your fucking self and saying keeping those people in a corporate gulag paid by the federal taxpayer at the highest prison incarceration rate ever seen in the United States, that's saving you money? They just signed a contract to house people for 4 years, not keep the facility open for 4 years. They want to keep it open permanently. They're budgeting to keep the average prisoner in prison for 4 years. Okay? While you're in prison, guess what they're doing? Moron. They are providing housing, food, clothing, healthcare, and security. They're just doing it in a custodial environment at the highest cost possible, much higher than any fantasy that you have about all the illegals have stolen all the Medicare. No, that's not true at all. Okay? Even if you were spending money, you're spending more now, motherfucker. Okay? Prison is the most expensive solution to a societal problem. And that's the way they fucking like it. Because there's campaign donors who own private prisons. We learned this in many states, including Arizona, where the reason why the laws were written the way they were law and the way the contracts were written was simply to make sure that the prison CEO got a bigger bonus check. We're gonna have a bed requirement in prison. If the state doesn't hold enough prisoners, we penalize them and charge the taxpayer more money. Either you fill the prison to the brim, or it's going to cost you more than that to have a less full prison. That's how nefarious these contracts are. Okay. They're housing people for profit. This has nothing to do with rehabilitation, and it barely has anything to do with punishment. Sure, they're making these people's lives these prisoners' lives miserable in these private prisons. I mean, I read 3 reports from very good sources. Um, the private prisons were understaffed, really understaffed when it came to doctors and nurses and medical supplies and medical services. Massive corruption with the staff, violence that would make the most violent state prison in the country look like Disneyland on a Thursday morning. Okay. But private prisons are the solution. The solution for whom? They're the solution for the people who own the private prisons and profit from them. This is corporatism. This is corporate socialism. But you think you're spending less money in a gulag at $400,000 a year because we were paying Section 8 housing to illegals at $400,000 a year. That's what we were doing. Right. Right. I got some beachfront property to sell you in Nevada, idiot. Deportation of continuing the letter to the editor. Deportation of illegals started with murderers, rapists, gang members who freely breach our borders and will make us safer. No, no. We did one demonstration deportation to CCOT, okay, which was a huge quid pro quo. I'm sure that's going to come out in the paper or a congressional investigation somewhere down the road. It may take 10 years or so, but eventually someone's going to out that we paid them, they bought some Trump meme coin. Well, look, and we deported all the bad people. We put 2 plane loads in El Salvador. All crime has stopped. Really? Really? A white redheaded guy just shot 3 cops today or this week. So, go fuck yourself. Dismantling U.S. aid has gone a long ways to saving us billions and supporting rogue countries that don't even have our best interests at heart. He has no idea what U.S. aid is. Not a clue. I'm sure he's listened to Greg Gutfeld and Bill Maher, the fake liberal, on Bill Maher's podcast, where he goes, completely right wing. And remember, Bill Maher, sucked off Chris Rock and ate shit out of Donald Trump's diaper at the White House. So fuck him too. Trump administration is cooling Biden's inflation. Gas prices are falling. Okay, this is again, Mr. Global. I'll recommend him again. Hey, if anybody has any common friends with Mr. Global, give him a shout out. I would love to spend 90 minutes or so with him talking. He put some really good content on some really good real world, real reality, smart, logical stuff. I would love to have a conversation with that guy. I really like his channel. I appreciate it. Gas prices are falling. If you are a magatard, you believe gas is $1.99. Except there is not a state in the union where gas is $1.99. But since they memed and put it on X and Reddit and Truth Social, and they showed the meme on Fox Noise, then gas is $1.99. In their heads, it's $1.99. At the pump for you, it's not. Okay? There's some high $2 out there, but there's nobody with $1.99 gas. That's bullshit. Okay, and you're not going to see $1.99 gas because, again, if you watch Mr. Global and other informative people, you'll learn that the oil rigs are shutting down. The policies aren't doing what you think they're doing. Sometimes the exact opposite. President Trump negotiated peace in Africa in their 30-year war. Africa's a continent, you dumb shit. Tax cuts were made permanent with the big, beautiful bill. Not the taxes for you, you idiot. You live down in the flats. You just sold your house. I took a picture of the article. My friend starts open intelligencing him and goes, "Oh yeah, he lives down the hill from you." And oh yeah, he just sold his home, and yeah, he's 69 years old, and yeah. So this is a 69-year-old guy that's completely detached from reality. Probably spends all his waking hours watching OAN, reading True Social, and watching Fox Noise. And he literally thinks the tax cuts is for his work. Nobody's wealthy in my town. There's a couple of players that drive around in really wealthy cars, but I think these are like the internet guys who like rent a Lambo and tell you they're rich. Like I saw a Bentley in my neighborhood the other day. I was like, get the fuck out of here. we're $1.5 million, $2 million ghetto. What the fuck are you doing up here with a Bentley? Come on. We're an overpriced working class neighborhood on the hill. That's all we are. Jesus. And down in the flats, you all working. Okay? You ain't wealthy. You're not the one that's going to benefit from the tax cuts in the big, beautiful bill. I'm sorry, you run a hedge fund while living down in the flats in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath bungalow? Really? You just saved all that hedge fund money, for the future? Decided to buy a little small house in a working class city that nobody outside the Bay Area even knows where it is? That's an interesting investment thing. You're a hidden billionaire. You just happen to live in a little hovel here in my town. But you're a billionaire who's going to benefit from all these corporate tax breaks. Whoop, 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 whoop. Delusional. No taxes on tips on overtime. That's only if you itemize. And unless you own a home and you're working class, you're not itemizing. So it may stay in there. You can deduct your tips or you can deduct your overtime. Okay. But most filers at that income level simply take the standard deduction. They do not itemize. Waitresses do not itemize unless they're working in a super high-end restaurant. Okay. Like I'm sure like at Harris's on Van Ness, I'm pretty sure those waiters are itemizing. I paid that steakhouse bill. I tipped those waiters. They're itemizing. But you're talking about 5% of the service workers are going to itemize. 95% will never see anything but the standard deduction. So if you really think that you're benefiting from the corporate tax breaks and you are guaranteed to benefit from the no tax on tips or no tax on overtime. I mean, the oil rig workers, the ones that didn't get laid off recently in the last couple of months, yeah, you're going to be pulling even more than overtime. Because the average work week, I understand, is like 80, 84 hours, something like that. And so you get like guaranteed double time on overtime every week. So, yeah, when you're making that much money, and you even, have enough, maybe even not without a mortgage, you have enough expenses and work costs and all that stuff you can itemize. Because if you itemize and you can't get above the standard deduction, take the standard deduction. What the fuck? You don't put money back onto the pay bill to the IRS. That's ridiculous. It's amazing. A grown man, 69 years old, doesn't even know how fucking taxes work. Tariffs have brought funds from other countries to help level playing fields everywhere and brings money into the treasury. How stupid do you got to be? It's a tax on Americans. You just took money out of your left pocket and put it in your right pocket. And then you said you made more money. That's three shell game on the sidewalk with the con artist. Oh, follow the ball. Oh, wow. This is the legislative equivalent of the fucking shell game. But this guy totally believes it, 100%. Magatard is his religion. If you think this levels the playing field, bullshit. I'm not an economist, but I understand several things. Okay. One, the tariffs are paid by Americans. It's paid by the consumer. It is a consumer import tax. Two, telling Canada and Mexico to increase the prices through an internal tax that we demand. And then we start a trade war and they retaliate. That raises the prices of all commodities, all precursors, all things in the supply chain. And it makes all your products more expensive. How can you not know that by this point? Unless you're a drooler who's sitting in your living room, putting on your stupid little red baseball cap and sitting there going, well, Fox News knows all the universe's facts. Well, guess what? They're lying to you. They're fucking lying to you. You're paying the money, and there's no net benefit to a tariff where you're literally just playing a shell game. Okay? And even with tariffs, when you add in the ugly bullshit bankruptcy bill, we're $4 trillion more in the hole. How is this coming out ahead? Okay, you've collected $173 million in tariffs last quarter, and that's somehow going to offset $4 trillion in debt, in new debt, on top of the $8 trillion he did last administration? He's $12 trillion down. Do you understand how many orders of magnitude you're off? This is absurd. The military is being strengthened and in addition to the biggest safety move in our country by destroying Iran's ability to have a nuclear weapons program. That's not true. That's delusional. Every single intelligence agencies, including our own, said it's not true. The only ones that made that claim is a White House press release that they posted on whitehouse.gov and a meme post that Dear Leader put up on Truth Social. Nobody else is saying Iran's nuclear program was knocked out in that strike. Nobody. In fact, the French and the Italians, the British and the Canadians are all saying something massively different. But no, your new Jesus. Okay. You don't believe in Jesus Christ. You believe in Dear Leader Porn Star Humper. So your new Jesus told you this was true. So you just swallowed it whole. Okay. Wow. If you thought the Iran statement was fucking dumb, here we go. Oh, Hamas is defeated along with Hezbollah and the Houthis. Oh, okay. I've been following the Israeli-Gaza war, the war on Gaza, which I understand what October 7th was. Um, it was a gigantic terrorist attack against the sovereign nation, a nation state. Um, my opinion is changing over the 600 plus days. And I actually have mailers sent to me daily from two Israeli newspapers. I read them a couple of times a week. One is a little more left and the other one is a little more right. And I read them both and I get the updates about the war. And both were talking this week about a new operation being launched in a city they haven't gone into yet in Gaza. Okay. If they're starting new war operations and opening up new, missions and giving go orders, how has Hamas surrendered? Hezbollah surrendered? The Houthis surrendered? They're defeated? You're delusional. You're in a cult, sir. You've drinking the great Flavor Aid. Yes, it was Flavor Aid in Jonestown. We all say Kool-Aid. Don't drink the grape Kool-Aid. That's actually wrong. It's the grape Flavor Aid with a little bit of cyanide. Um, The administration is shutting down silly electric vehicle mandates and cutting costly and useless regulations. Okay. Um, I'm not this dyed-in-the-wool crazy leftist Berkeleyite wearing patchouli oil and a fucking African dress shirt when I'm white. Okay. I am not a leftist by any measure. I'm center left, but there's no way you can categorize me as left or far leftist. I've owned and operated my own solar array for 10 plus years now. Okay. It's right there on the roof. There's another 6 panels over there on the bedrooms. Okay. 10.2 kilowatt hours. Okay. I've already gotten my ROI back. Okay. My electricity last year cost me for the entire year $93. Okay. I already paid off the panels. The panels are paid for. And last year's electric bill was $93. He thinks that's a silly mandate. Okay. When our kids were teenagers and you got to play the parent taxi and drive everywhere because your kids got music lessons and martial arts and gymnastics and everything else, modern kids do, and you're running around like crazy. We bought a hybrid, and we put a charger in the garage, and having to go out, take the kids out, sometimes 3-4 times a day. We come back, there's enough power coming off the roof. The whole house is lit up by the solar panels. We're selling electricity back to the grid, even with my servers and my big workstation running in the house and the EV charging. Okay. I'm still selling back a couple of kilowatts at peak. And that's, noon is when we're coming back from the second round with the kids. Okay. EVs and solar has nothing been but a budget bonanza for my family and I. It's one of the best investments I've ever made. It's up there with the Starbucks stock, the individual stock I played while back. I stopped doing individual stocks when us collective morons. I can't put it off on everybody because we did it. Society did it. We put an idiot and a con artist and a criminal into the White House. As soon as that happened, I changed all my ratings on my portfolios. Stopped doing individual stocks because he could wake up in the morning and just destroy a company if he wants to, and Congress and the courts would allow him to do it. So, but back in the day, I had a Series 7 trading desk. I don't have a Series 7 license. I just had access to the virtual desktops at my trading house, and they let me do advanced analysis because the first they wouldn't let me. Then I had to explain to them I do data engineering and data science for a living, and they're like, "Oh, okay, but don't go broke." I'm like, "No, I don't invest like that. I'm not a day trader. I'm looking for long-term value." And that's what I found in the Starbucks when I hit the splits when Howard Schultz did the splits. I made serious money. In fact, I told my daughter, I said, if you ever meet Howard Schultz, hug him. He's the one that paid for your bachelor's degree. And that's not a joke. I made so much money investing in Starbucks as an individual stock. So the solar panels and the EV were probably on par with the Starbucks investment. Best investing I've ever done. Other than the education for my family. My wife has a master's, all my kids have masters. I've never been to college, but I paid for 2 associates, 4 bachelors, and four master's degrees. That's a wonderful investment. That's the best investment I've ever done. But solar panels and Starbucks are definitely tied for second. So this idiot doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to solar and silly mandates. Okay, who is the biggest proponent of the silly mandates? One of the largest car manufacturers in the United States, Tesla, run by MAGA Prince Ketamine, Elon Musk. But electric cars are silly. Really? Daimler Group makes EVs. Ford makes EVs. Stellantis makes EVs. I think the only one that's not, they're still betting on hydrogen. Is that Nissan? I think it's Nissan. But yeah, everybody's got electric lines because they know customers want them, and the customers that live in like hydroelectric districts that have very cheap electricity because they get it off waterfall dams, um, and they have lower than average prices. They get EVs because, especially if they have to do a long work commute, you get a bigger battery. I mean, your gasoline bills go away. Um, but this is on par with like the way the Red Hat morons literally shit on the Ford F-150 Lightning. I considered buying one, but I just didn't need another pickup truck at the time. I used to have a Super Crew F-150. I loved it. That was my skiing truck. That's the one I went to the mountains with. Um, the F-150 Lightning was just derided by the far right crowd as a joke. Except Ford sold them out. So obviously some people wanted them. Okay. And then I read the Edmunds report on the aftermarket surveys for the Lightning, and yeah, they're mostly bought by contractors. Not mostly, but a big majority were bought by contractors, and the feedback was generally really positive. A couple of new vehicle problems. There's always that stuff. Uh, you can even see it in high level brands like Lincoln or Cadillac. They've had early version problems themselves. So to sit there and call it silly electric vehicle mandate and cutting costly, useless regulations. These are just mantras. These are just pronouncements they're making without evidence. He's cut regulation. Oh, we created a utopia. See our nationalist utopia? We cut regulations. See? Well, what does that mean? How did that increase the GDP? How did that increase the hourly wage for hourly workers, non-salaried workers? Oh, we cut regulation. Okay. What does that mean? Oh, I don't have to tell you. Some people say, remember that was the Fox Noise ism for years? Well, I'm not going to cite anybody. All I'm going to say is some people say this bullshit I'm about to tell you. Um, okay. We can keep our super efficient gas stoves. Well, I guess one thing right. Yeah. Berkeley was completely idiotic by trying to ban gas stoves. That was the dumbest thing. One of the dumbest things that ever happened in my lifetime. You're gonna we when we have like $1/3 trillion infrastructure for natural gas in this country. No, we're gonna shut that off while we're having grid problems. And PG&E's burying the lines before they burn the other half of the state down. Fuck. Our farm workers and manufacturers have more balanced playing field for their business. Farm workers. Oh, oh, how has America fallen this far? Farm workers are benefiting from this. Really? When they're being held at gunpoint, when they're being chased to the field and having the ever loving shit kicked out of them for the crime of picking lettuce? We can't have that artichoke harvested right now. Okay, and I keep saying this. Who the fuck do you think's going to work in the field after they deport all those people? Poor white boys with a gun in your back. Get picking that lettuce, or the trench is next. Now we have to be honest. Now that we have an honest government that doesn't use lawfare. Okay, lawfare, perfect example. Trump sues Paramount over a joke. Okay, we already determined jokes are legal. Satire is legal in this country. It's called um, Falwell versus Hustler, 1988. Okay, it's actually an amazing court case about free speech and free press rights. Yes, I know Larry Flint was a fucking degenerate. Yes, I know he put out a very bawdy pornographic magazine, actually a whole line of them. He once offered Gloria Steinem $1 million to pose nude. I think I bought that that month's edition. Um, yeah, but he made a cartoon about Falwell. that was completely absurdity. It was absurdism comedy, which, if you know anything about absurdism, you can't take it too seriously. It's presented as absurd. I do this in my essay writings. I present an absurd point just to point out how absurd it is in reality. And once you identify the absurdism, you should be able to unpack it as untruthful. Okay? So, oh my God. He thinks farm workers is being helped. And he thinks lawfare is not the chief sport of one dear leader porn star humper. Okay. They say a joke on Paramount. He sues Paramount. Paramount bribes him. It's not a legal settlement. It's a political bribe. Just like all these other newspaper settlements. There is standing freaking law that satire is legal. You may not like the joke. You may think the joke was in bad taste. You may think the joke was vulgar. According to the Supreme Court in 1988, that shit's 100% legal under the First Amendment. Okay? And no, Falwell could not sue Hustler Incorporated and Larry Flint into bankruptcy. Okay? That ended the tort filed by Falwell. Okay? So we've already decided, this is another thing we decided 40, 50 years ago. They're just throwing out because it's convenient for the street gang and their street gang leader. MAGA's the street gang. Their street gang leader is dear leader porn star humper. Lawfare. So then Colbert has something to say about how his executives in his company are a bunch of cowards. And Stephen Colbert was correct. Okay? They're not just cowards. They're corrupt. Okay? What these settlements amount to is cloaked criminality. This is cloaked bribery. These are payoffs. Trump asked for a shakedown. Then he sued them to get the payout. Okay? The theme song from Beverly Hills Cop 2 by Bob Seger, Shakedown. Go listen to that tonight on Spotify or Napster or wherever you listen to music. Shakedown, breakdown. These are shakedowns. This is criminal activity. Okay? So what happens to Colbert? He gets fired for saying something about Paramount. Okay? It's the circle of corrupt life. No great vocal line here. It just sucks. It was a Lion King joke. Probably a bad dad joke, but I don't care. So he's convinced that Donald Trump being found guilty in a New York court of business fraud, a trial that was held in Philadelphia, he had attorneys, he had hearings out the yin yang, but somehow that was lawfare. Everything else in the universe isn't that he does. By the way, the immigration thing where he just wants to bring fear and terror into the immigrant communities, the non-white communities, that's lawfare too. Okay. In a very Nazi way, because my wife is German, her mom is German. Mom grew up in Berlin after the war. That's why I'm always talking about Germany, West Germany and East Germany, because it's my wife's married family's from, and that's where I was in the 80s. The Nazis legalized everything first. Make it legal, then do the horror show. Nothing they did that they got convicted of at the Nuremberg trials was legal before they made it legal. It wasn't like people said, "Oh yeah, you can kidnap and throw people in an oven. That's okay. That's an exception to the murder and the kidnapping laws." Nobody said that. What they did was come up with the same colloquial laws and language. Okay, they're telling you they need to deport people. What they're doing is incarcerating people long term in horrible conditions, including children, denying medical care, denying care to U.S. citizens with cancer. German citizens on a legal tourist visa denied medications while held in custody for over a week. They're even attacking our allies. They're our citizens. Okay? They're kicking the shit out of carpenters here. Guys born and raised here. It's like Captain America, with the Asian dude. Hey, dude, I'm from Fresno. I have a Korean friend like that. Everybody asks him, "Where are you from, dude?" And he goes, "El Paso, Texas, born and raised." He isn't kidding. um, Objections come from the opposite side because they are losing power, not because they fear for this country or care for our citizens. Okay. I hate to psychologically profile somebody I haven't met or read a full dossier on, but this fucker's whacked. um, the last people that dear leader porn star Humper cares about is anybody wearing a red baseball cap that's not him. Okay. He didn't even give a fuck about his own son. Remember that story that was floating around years ago when they got caught in some financial gig in New York and there was a chance they were going to get prosecuted for it. Uh, According to sources, that yeah, there was a conversation. Let's throw Eric Trump underneath the bus and let him do the time. He doesn't like his own kids. Are you kidding me? That's how narcissistic this guy is. He has the concern for the citizens. No, you deported a 2-year-old citizen getting cancer treatment and her parents. Um, I'm sorry, if you're at the Mayo Clinic with your kid getting cancer treatment and the kid is legally here, the parents are guests. That's the only, as religious people in this country may say, it would be the only Christ-like thing to do. I just think it's the humanist thing to do. It's the nice thing to do. It's the good citizen thing to do. And you don't always have to be an asshole, because that's what red hat means in this country today. I'm an asshole. I'm always an asshole. I will never stop being an asshole. My opinions come out of my asshole. And I probably licked another proud baby's asshole. That's what it means. Um, we will all benefit from this man doing righteous things for us and loves this country. Mm, mm. Wow. That's North Korean in its sycophancy. That is amazing. The level of a sycophant you can be in a sentence. Much of the complaints about Mr. Trump are due to the hatred of him, not based on his policies. No, 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 no. I can keep those two things separately. I hate him as a person and have since the 1980s. He's a fucking scumbag. Okay? He's also a racist scumbag. Go back to the Central Park Five. He still keeps saying they're guilty. Oh, by the way, one of the Central Park Five is now like an alderman or councilman or something in New York City now. Good for him. Those guys didn't do anything. Again, military police. Okay, civilian cop. Thing that feared me the most was arresting the wrong person for a serious crime. Hey, you arrest a DUI and they blow a fucking 06 at the station, you just OR them, put them in a cab. All good, right? Oops, sorry. But I have to do the reasonable thing. If you are 08 and you go 3 more blocks and run 10 people down in the fucking crosswalk and on the sidewalk because you're intoxicated behind the wheel, guess who gets sued? We had that happen on day shift. Traffic officer, senior traffic officer, good cop, just didn't have it in his head this woman could be that shit-faced at 10:30 in the morning. She was. She was triple the legal limit. She left the traffic stop, went exactly a half a mile, and got into a 3 or 4 car wreck. Also took out a telephone pole. Yep. That's why you take somebody you're not sure about for a breath test. Okay. I didn't need to do that because I understood horizontal gaze nystagmus so well. I used to do it for the other officers used to call me to their stops so I could do the eye test because I was so good at it. And I would go, no, they're not. Don't, I mean, I'd maybe advise them to take a cab because if they just had their last drink 15 minutes ago, they could be still going up and they could get stopped again in the next town over and it would be totally legal to arrest them. Okay. So maybe suggest a cab. So, um, well, anyways, I hate Donald Trump because he's a scumbag. I hate MAGA policies because they're fucktarded. They're lies. They're corrupt. They're con artistry. They're total bullshit. Okay. And I'll go through a quick set of examples of how these policies are costing us a fucking fortune and they don't make any goddamn sense. Tariffs, idiotic. It's a tax on U.S. consumers. Mostly people who, the more you are toward the bottom quintile of the economy, the more it's going to affect you. And this mania, this taco bullshit, on off, on off, on off. That tells you how unserious the tariffs are, but the damage is being done anyways. Okay, and you haven't seen the inflation and the other supply chain problems that's going to occur when he actually sticks to something or just go completely crazy and decides Japan needs a 44,000% tariff. I didn't like the deal I just signed. And an economist wants to explain me how reciprocal 15% tariffs with Japan, our friend. Yeah, I know we got a beef with them in the 40s. We're over that. We cool now. Oh, Sensei. That's the founder of Aikido, if you were wondering. If President Trump likes something, the left hates it just because he likes it. No consideration what's good for America. Go, President Trump. Fuck you. Fuck you. Tariffs do not help the average American. Fuck you. You're an idiot. Okay. Is there a purpose for a tariff? Yeah. I watched an economist on YouTube today, went on a 30-minute talk and question and answer and everything. And it was like, oh, yeah, there's strategic things that you may want to do, especially around national security. But this whole mania of like 20, 50, 70, 100, 150, 3,000. No, yes, maybe. That's not a tariff program. That's all a distraction for whatever bullshit that's happening behind the curtain. Okay. So that's not that's not happening. That's not helping average Americans. What's not happening helping average Americans is arresting the food chain workers. Okay, that's going to end up in supply chain problems, missing shit off the shelves, and higher food prices. Uh, Food is going to disappear because of these tariffs because customers are going to stop buying them. Then things are going to stop showing up because the supply chain got broken. Okay. Because when you're fucking with the farm workers wasn't enough to fuck up the food supply chain. Now you're going after the truck drivers who deliver the food too. Hey, I'm already on a diet. I could go on a diet for another year. Okay. I'll eat fruit and vegetables out of my backyard. What the rest of y'all, all y'all gonna do? Come on. Okay. Tariffs aren't doing you a damn thing. Arresting farm labor isn't doing you a damn thing. Okay. Laying off all the federal workers, just deciding that you're our dictator and the Administrative Control Act doesn't exist and you can just eliminate departments because you have feels. That's not helping the average citizen. When an elderly person is calling Medicare, FEMA, Social Security, there's nobody picking up the phone. Report after report after report. Okay. Grandma didn't get her Social Security check. Something her husband, when he was alive, paid for. Okay. Social Security is not welfare. You lying son of a bitch. You told people that was legally required to pay into the public trust and you would receive a dividend when you retired. Okay. Now you're not just going to pick up the phone because you fired the people who pick up and then answer the calls. That's not helping the average American. Bullshit. Oh, all these willy-nilly arrests and beating the shit out of everybody. And these are immigrations arrests and still in these cop arrests. I saw another one. They just started punching a black guy in the face like he was a punching bag. And how this guy remained so stoic and didn't fight back. Um, wow. So yeah, all this violence. Guess what's going to happen to Americans overseas? Go ahead, be an American, and then get arrested in fucking Venezuela or the Arab world or some of these not nice commie Asian countries. Oh, look what you did to our citizens. Look what you did to our friends, citizens. We're going to do the same thing to you. Oh, no, no, no. You didn't check a box. No, no, no. You're in a hole. There's no lawyer. There's no, let me call the embassy. You're in a hole, just like our citizens were in a hole. It's like Manny Patinkin's warning I saw last week. I saw a snippet. I got to go back and watch the whole interview, but he was talking about, basically that Israel's got to be careful. And this is kind of what I really seriously agree with. And I said I've been reading about the Gaza war the whole time. Um, you got to be careful because you treat people badly. That's how people are going to treat Israelis around the world. Okay. Blowback is real. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's real. Okay. So when you're kicking the shit out of everybody here to save the country from itself and make the crime go to zero. Okay. The only way crime is going to go to zero, you stop accounting the crime white boys commit. It's the only way it's going to zero. Because I'm sure you can arrest and deport all the people who aren't white and build your ethno state if you try hard enough. If you're willing to kill that many people, yeah, you could probably do it. Okay. Exoduses have been forced before. Look what Idi Amin, I wrote an essay about that. Go look it up on my essay list. Idi Amin literally threw out all the Pakistanis and the Indians in one fell swoop, gave them 90 days to get the fuck out of the country, destroyed their economy. Okay. And once the Asians were gone, they just picked another group. Okay. I mean, this guy, Idi Amin was so crazy. He challenged Queen Elizabeth to a boxing match. For real. So these crazy side tips, the weave. He didn't invent the weave. Okay. Idi Amin was doing the fucking weave fucking 50 years ago. How else is he screwing us over? Um, these and I'm not putting this all off on dear leader. Congress has to pass a law to tell the presidents you have very limited guidelines of what you can fucking do in an executive order. But his executive orders, oh my god, are they stupid? Like I've literally been putting his executive orders into Sal 9000 ChatGTP 2010 A Space Odyssey, the follow up to the original 2001 movie with Roy Scheider. You get to meet Hal's sister, Sal. So I often refer to the AI bots as Sal. 2001 and 2010 are a couple of my favorite movies of all time. So I've been feeding them into the AI, and I'm going break this down and find me commonalities and da 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 da. And oh yeah, oh yeah. Some interesting things come out. I'm saving it for a future essay, little side research project. But these executive orders are mostly substanceless. Um, they're mantra or they're misinformation. Okay, and they have very limited legal scope. Okay, the only reason he's getting a lot of traction is because a lot of his subordinates are just ignoring federal law, like the Administration Control Act. Okay, nothing the federal government can do can be arbitrary and capricious. That's the law that was written after Nixon. Okay, they just can't go. Oh, I have a feel. So now walking down the sidewalks are illegal. No, they can't do that. Or oh yeah, we've ran air traffic like this for 60 years. Okay, we made some improvements here and there. We put in some better radars and came up with some better airport instruction plans. But now we're throwing that all out and we're all going to use lollipops. We're going to rub a lollipop on a tape recorder, and that's going to be our flight plan. That'd be arbitrary and capricious. I know it's a silly example, but yeah, you just can't just throw your hands up and go, oh, we're just going to do it different because I have feels. Well, whoop. Uh, that is explicitly against federal law. Yeah, that's the only reason some of these EOs are getting traction. But every president likes to make it rain EOs. Like they never watch Schoolhouse Rock. Laws come out of Congress. Well, let me back up a step. Laws should come out of Congress. Laws come out of lobbyists. The laws are vanillaed, so they don't really write the regulation because then the lobbyists are going to lobby the regulators and have them write the regulations outside of the public view. Because if it was a congressional bill, all that regulation would be in the bill where it belongs. But no, we're not going to actually decide how this works. We're just going to pass a very simpletized frameworks with a lot of slogans and buzz phrases and a little bit of statutory requirement. And then we're going to have the regulators actually build out what this means later. And what it means later is often not what they've talked about in the A Block interview, on cable TV news. Okay, so the EOs aren't helping the average person. Anybody thinks they're being saved by an EO has an IQ lower than 86, which would make them ineligible to be in the Army. They'd be too stupid to be in the Army. That's tough. I was in the Army. I was a smart guy in the Army, but trust me, there are some people who, wow, how did you make it in? What else is screwing us over? Just the general hatred. We have a racist past, chattel slavery. We can't get around that. Shit we did to the Chinese in San Francisco. Oh, the city burned down. You have to leave. You can't rebuild. They rebuilt so fast they couldn't stop them. It's the only reason Chinatown still exists, because they just did it on their own. Okay. And they did it through the Bank of Chinatown, which eventually became, I think, Bank of America. How in World War II, we had signs in Mexico to have people come up and help pick the crops. So we built the farm labor from Mexico model in World War II because we needed the labor. Okay. But then cyclically, we bitch about it. Okay. And usually people bitching about it are bitching about it to distract you from something else, like a tax break for themselves. Oh, look at all this crime, all the crime. It used to be, wow, the crime rate's really high because all this added crime from immigrants. Now that's not what they're saying. Now it's immigrants commit the crime. That's not true. That's a purposeful falsehood. I mean, defunding education, not good, especially for rural America. I just drove twice across the country, from the Bay Area all the way to Indiana. Beautiful drive. Wyoming is beautiful. Laramie reminded me of Germany. Nice people everywhere. Most people, like I look like I look. Wearing heavy metal T-shirts and everything. I mean, people were kind to me. We got great service at restaurants, no matter where we were. The waitress at Fleming's in Salt Lake City started hitting on my son. He's cute. So what? Yeah, so I've been across the country, and like I was just in rural Indiana. I stayed there for a period, and at a friend's house, and this is way out in the boonies. I mean, way out in the boonies, Indiana. And I went to breakfast at some local places where you get to meet the locals with their John Birch signs over the kitchen counter, the pickup counter. Not kidding. I just because I disagree with them or I don't want to be a Christian, I'm not, never will be. Um, I I don't hold these people in ill will. That's just ridiculous. I just disagree with you. I don't want to live your life. I don't want to tell you how to live your life. Okay. You want to live here and you want to believe in what you get told by a guy who takes 10% of your money and then diddles your kids. You do you. Okay. But you have to pick up your own garbage. That's my own thing. That's my only thing. Don't shit in other people's yards and pick up your own garbage. Okay. I don't want to live your life. I don't want to tell you how to live your own life. I don't want you to see you get into harm's way. And the way most people in history are getting in harm's way, by being really poor. Okay. When you take away the hospitals from rural Kansas, rural Indiana, Montana, Wyoming, Alaska, when you take away the hospitals, the clinics, both public and private clinics, they're trying to flat out outlaw the private clinics. Okay. Have been since the televangelists of the 80s. Okay. Last thing we want to see, healthcare for poor people. It's a privilege of us guys who take 10% of the money on the TD. I had a great grandfather. He lived down in Tampa Bay, Florida. We go down every once in a while, go down and see him. I love the guy. He was so friendly to me. I lost both my grandfathers really early, so my great grandfather was around longer than both my grandfathers, which is weird. My great grandfather lived forever. I think he lived to 99, and he was mobile, took care of his own orange trees and grapefruit trees till he was like 97 and a half. He only slowed down his last year and a half. But my great grandmother would always watch the televangelists, usually on Saturday morning, by the way. I don't know why, but the Christians and I think my great grandfather was more agnostic than religious. He thought about there's a higher power, and if there is, he's probably going to meet him pretty soon. He was old, but he wasn't down with the televangelists. Like, they would put up the phone number to call, and he would literally put his hand on top of the AT&T 335 black AT&T phone and go, "No, ma'am, you ain't calling that. You ain't giving them our Social Security money. No way, no way. You can listen to them all you want, but you ain't giving them any money." So, and these are the guys. Franklin Graham on. These guys keep telling you they're selling you some message of peace and a peaceful religion when they're actually screaming about other people and how much they hate them. I mean, and if you think there were some hateful people now, go look up Anita Bryant, the actress who went into become a born again Christian. She became so helpful. She became a pariah everywhere, not just in advertising and TV and movies, but people didn't even want to deal with her in real life. That she was so psycho hatred on gay people. She was literally calling for their deaths. Okay. And anybody like Dear Leader Porn Star Humper who like, oh, you got to pay attention to this guy. This is the guy that's hurting you. This is the guy you need to hate. The light bulb should go off in your head. Why do you want me to hate him? What's your motivation? I don't even know that guy. One thing I said when I was talking to somebody at a party a little while back is I don't like the fact that people think that the only place you're going to be happy is around where you live. I've traveled all over the place. All I've met is nice people. Okay. Occasionally I run into a butthead or two. That's a rare event, no matter where I am. And for a lot of years, I traveled for work all over the country. Okay. Do 2 weeks, 1 week in Atlanta, 1 week in Orlando, come back home. Do St. Louis, then Kansas City, then come back home. It was 2 weeks out, 1 week in. Did that for years. Okay. Building new sites, laying out new environments for computer systems. Most of the people I met, nice. Most of the people I bet if I marry or Lisa or a Badai, wake up. Hey, thanks for listening. If I met you in real life and I met you at a restaurant or a bar or at a party, we'd probably get along. Okay. That's the statistics of it. So why are you got a politician stomping his fist on this desk telling you these are the people you should hate? That's not going to get us anywhere. Okay. I don't hate even the red hat wearers. I just think you're being really fucking stupid. Okay. The true haters, the Nazis, and you know the difference. The dummy at the rally and the idiots literally marching in Florida with the swastika flag. I know they're all wrong, but I'm saying know the difference. Okay. Those guys I don't like because back in my day, yeah, they were a problem. And they'll always be a problem because all these far fringe movements, all they do is primarily is hijack young men's mind into things they don't need to be dealing with. Because one, they're just not true. Two, most of society has moved past this point. There's just a core of haters. Okay. Even like with a lot of the red hat wearers, a lot of these people are just clinging on to being mad. They've lost the American dream. Okay. They're never going to own a home. They'll never buy a new car. They'll always have a dishwasher that needs to be repaired. Okay. The Leave It to Beaver fucking lifestyle they showed you on TV? Again, capitalism started going away in the 70s. It was dead by 81 with Reagan and was replaced with corporatism, corporate socialism. Okay. The government works to enrich the people who put those into power. They distract you with things like immigration and the hatred of the immigrant so they can further their own profitable agenda for themselves, not by any means helping the average working guy. But this is why you need to act local. You need to talk to your family and friends. Okay. I have some people who aren't necessarily in what I would call a reasonable space. I don't think I have anybody in my circle who's gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But even when they're not, they have some flaky opinions. Because I would see people that don't wear red hats would agree with some things this guy wrote in the article. And he only got one thing right. He brought up 18 points. That's a bad score. Be that local person, be that well-informed person, be that well-read person. Read information from reliable sources. Okay. If you're not sure, I'm not shilling for anything, but a lot of people like that ground news. I've never paid for it, but it is on my phone and it gives me the basics of, because a couple of stories like I noticed both sides do it. Story the left doesn't like, not a single left web outlet is covering it. Something the right doesn't like, oh, it doesn't exist in the universe for that. Okay. So understand how to read the news, where to read the news, how to stay informed, and how to communicate. Well, wait a minute. Like, I think I made an inroads the other day. A guy made a false assertion about immigration. And I go, I don't know where you're getting the information, but you understand that conservative Cato, you know who the Cato Institute is, right? And the guy goes, well, I've heard of them. I go, well, they're the biggest conservative think tank of the last 40 or 50 years. Their chief lawyer is telling you the immigration system is broken. Legal immigration is not possible unless you're wealthy. And they're creating their own problem at your expense. And I go, that didn't come from PBS or Rachel Maddow or MoveOn.org. That came from the Cato Institute. Okay. And then I just looked him right in the eye and said, where are you getting your information? True Social, Fox Noise, X, OAN. Don't do that. Don't do that. And then the same side, on the other side, is it. Don't read unverified information just because they're claiming that we're the happy liberal. There are some liberal sites that are outstanding for accuracy. Sometimes they're a little biased, but their accuracy is usually super fucking high. And frankly, PBS is one of them. Their accuracy tends to be really freaking high. Do they make mistakes? Yes, all journalists have made mistakes. That's why there's retractions and corrections. And I do like the editors that now require the correction go on the same page, including the front page, if necessary, to make the correction of things they reported or reported incorrectly, or just plain got wrong, or it happens. Okay, so stay informed, be that good local person, and never give up, never surrender. Don't accept this stuff. It's a fraud. Okay, and until next time, think about it.